Before I start, I just want to clarify that I don't know the freedom fighters as well since I just started reading the 12 issue maxi series Freedom Fighters from DC, but I think they're a pretty cool concept and I only read about them from Multiversity during Earth X where a human bomb brought down their watchtower down on Germany. That stuff was so amazing. I was just completely impressed and I was very glad to hear that they were gonna be releasing a maxi series for it, and I'm glad it came to fruition. But I just want you to know that I'm not in depth in them like say Comics Explained or Comic Historian, so I'm really just learning along with you here, and I hope you enjoy. So this story begins 55 years ago when the first generation of freedom fighters are at a meeting and they're planning to raid maybe a government official's house for one of the Razzies. They should just call them normal Nazis, but I guess that would be too racist since we're way past World War II. But anyway, they were gonna raid a Razzie general's house or home or fortress or something. I don't really remember. But it turns out that the Razzies have their own set of superhumans. Well, it's not really surprising because on Earth X, the Justice League never existed in America, and the Justice League never existed because Superman's rocket spacecraft crash landed in Germany, and so he ended up being used as the ultimate weapon in conquering the world. That's how Germany gained control of Earth X in that reality. And so, uh, during the meeting, we find out that Plastic Man, that world's version of Plastic Man that is Arazi, was actually disguised as the map on the table that they were planning on. So when he undisguises himself and pretty much puts down every other member and keeps except for the main members of the freedom fighters alive, they are taken out and executed. And this is recorded and is being played on that day as an anniversary, as a reminder to the Americans that their hope is useless and they need to surrender and give up. And this would be played for weeks straight, like 7 days of that video only being played on air. If that isn't the ultimate hope crushing demonstration, I don't really know what is. But cut 55 years later, where you could pretty much go to prison from playing baseball unless you're a kid, then you're only let off with a warning. A commodore and his bodyguard head into a museum to talk to the museum curator about something I've completely forgotten. So on their way in there, you're gonna notice a firefighter. You're probably gonna think you don't see anything burning if you were that attentive. Even I didn't really notice him until I went back in the page. I was like, wow, he was there. So after they get into the building, they talk about something about reminding them, the Americans, of their place or something like that, and then the museum goes boom. The curator, the commodore, his bodyguard, dead. Firefighter outside gives them the finger, even though they're already dead, and reveals himself to be the human bomb. But keep in mind, this is 55 years later. So, if anything, this is most likely the human bomb's grandson. Maybe either his son or his grandson. It's gonna be one of them. And the thing with the human bomb is his skin can make any solid material explode. So to me, how he made a baby is beyond me. But I hope they're gonna explain that somewhere down the line because it's gonna take some miracle for the woman he was with not to blow up. Anyway, the freedom fighters are now reinstated. They're reformed, but this is a new set of freedom fighters. Instead of Doll Man, who got his head blown off from the first generation, is Doll Woman, his wife, and I don't know how she's still young after 55 years. And then there's a new Black Condor, there's a new Human Bomb, as I mentioned before, a Phantom Girl, and Uncle Sam was still missing because 55 years ago, after the freedom fighters were displayed being executed, the Americans lost all hope, and so Uncle Sam is like the Spectre, but he only have his bodies and only shows up when the Americans had hope. But because execution lost hope, Uncle Sam just basically disappeared. But in doing so, by fighting, by creating a scene, fighting the Rossis and fighting their, I want to say Sentinel, but my god, that thing is so original, it's scary. It's like if the Iron Robot and the Sentinel had a baby. But after they win the fight against it, they reinstate hope into people. Uncle Sam begins to reawake again, and America seems to be willing to fight back again. But also, by reinstating hope, they brought out villains that I'm pretty sure were on retirement. And this includes Plastic Man, well, the evil version, who strangles a man in an alley and like shouts out to his superiors that they're gonna need to get their act together. And by the time of this video coming out, I think by now there should have been like the issue 3, where we get to meet that world's twisted version of the Justice League, where they have I'm pretty sure it's Overman, Brunhilde, which is Wonder Woman, and Underwater Man, which is obviously Aquaman with a way more horrible name. But anyway, this series was pretty interesting for me because it seems to touch a lot on the idea of hope, seeing as hope itself is very important. And in the main DC universe or Zero, hope is something that I'm pretty sure 90% of the heroes touch on, mostly Flash and Superman, because it's a driving force. I mean, if you were doing something, if you had a goal, what would ultimately drive you would be the hope of completing it and getting what you deserve and what you think you deserve from that goal. Hope itself could be a very useful weapon. If you're a Green Lantern, if you're a Blue Lantern, then hope is in fact a weapon. It's a ring. But hope is a driving force in humans because it's really what has led us to advance throughout history. I mean, electricity was Thomas Edison hoping it would work. Albert Einstein, uh, even Elon Musk, to be honest, or even Bill Gates, it was all based on hope that they were going to accomplish what they set out to accomplish in life. But equally, hope brings out other enemies, say the Razzies. On a real life, you get competition instead, which is also its own set of problems. But it ultimately set out to strengthen you towards your goal. And I think that's where this is going with the Freedom Fighters, because this is a new incarnation of the Freedom Fighters, not the one they fought 55 years ago. So these guys are fairly different, and I hope they have a fairly different approach to the plans than their first iterations did, because they all got shot and they were repeated. That footage was repeated 7 days. That was repeated a week straight for people to see how unplanned and unprepared they were. But hopefully, this iteration is not gonna go that route. And to be honest, I can't wait for the entire series to come out. I mean, the book is way more interesting, and the world building is not really there. I mean, you pretty much have to have a sort of incentive. So honestly, I would think that you need to go online and research the characters one by one, because I really got sort of lazy. I only went into Human Bomb, and he's very interesting, and like there've been several iterations like any other comic book character, but overall I kind of feel this concept way more. But anyway, I'm kind of curious, if you were in a world like Earth X and the Nazis did win World War II, what would you do? Would you give up, or would you hope that one day you'll come back into power? Would you fight back, or would you just sit back and hope whatever happens happens? Or would you rather get arrested for playing baseball in the middle of the street? You can let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you all next time.